Thank you for tuning in to today's webinar, wherever you are in the world. I'm David Adler, the chairman and founder of BizBash, and I'm thrilled to introduce Jason Craparo of HIO, and we're going to learn all about what that really means. He's the founder and CEO of the networking and event platform HIO, and prior to HIO, Jason had various positions of leadership that taught him how important meaningful relationships are for both business and our personal lives, and he had the idea to create this product. He's a great entrepreneur. But before we start, I want to talk about if you want to share some of the moments from this webinar, because I always learn something every day and I want to share it back in my office. You use a hashtag smarter events and tag BizBash and HIO social. We're going to be hosting a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so please submit your questions into the question box, which we're all familiar with now. And at the conclusion of the webinar, we're going to be sending you a copy of the complete recording so that you can check back on everything that we discussed. So without further ado, let me introduce Jason. And Jason, tell us first, what is HIO? Why did you start it?
Thanks so much for having me, David. I really appreciate you and the team at BizBash for hosting us today. So HIO stands for Hit It Off. We are an in-person and virtual event solution with a predominant focus on relationships and relationship building. So we believe that as a brand, people go on these blended journeys together. And so we span that entire relationship journey from hitting it off. HIO stands for Hit It Off. From hitting it off virtually or in person, taking that relationship digital through swapping contact info, social platforms, even documents through Dropbox or Google Drive. And then we have a whole host of follow-up features that are designed to get you back in touch with that person so you can continue building the relationship and ultimately reaching your goals, whether it's landing a contract, carrying forth the relationship, going on a first date, whatever your objectives are with that individual.
I love that because, you know, people may be bored because I always say that event organizers have to be collaboration artists. Mm-hmm. And what you have done is created tools to make organizers do their job in a better way. And sometimes people don't take that as seriously as they should, but it seems like, especially now in COVID, things changed a lot, right? How did you sort of adjust? What did you learn from this experience?
Well, we were actually doing in-person events right before COVID, of course. And I had just moved to the suburbs I had my third child, forced us to move to the suburbs. So good thing for us, we hedged our bets early on virtual, right before COVID actually hit. And so we were well positioned for the demand with virtual events. We believe that it was especially networking events were going to kind of be the wave of the future. So we invested in virtual, and it's been great for us seeing the demand and how people are using our software. The overall industry, of course, has exploded. Just speaking to entrepreneurship, it's been so amazing for me to see many different companies who were before COVID, they were doing something else. Let's say an architecture firm was doing 3D rendering of buildings. Well, now they're doing 3D renderings of venues. And so everyone was kind of starting with what they had, and they pivoted to kind of support the virtual event space. So I've just been really excited to see all of the different businesses, some competing, some not competing, and just how the American spirit is alive and well, and how folks have been able to meet the demand for the virtual events.
And what distinguishes HIO? What is the secret sauce, though? I mean, we see a lot of these platforms. Why should we say, oh my God, HIO, we need to hit it off with you?
Yeah, absolutely. The main thing is relationships. If folks come to us and they say, networking is not important at all, you shouldn't use HIO. There are two main reasons why someone would go to an event or buy a ticket. The first is content, and the second is relationships. They're there to build relationships with the people that they meet and encounter. And so we focus on that relationship. Of course, we don't control the content. That's up to the organizers and the topic of the event. But we really want and focus and obsess on the attendee experience. So I meet people, and how do I connect with them? Instead of just a LinkedIn profile, we actually support you in being able to share contact info, socials, documents. We even have an integration with 30 cloud-based CRMs. So let's say you meet 15 people at your event. You're able to send everyone you meet to your CRM with just one touch. So it makes the finding and the friending and the following up with people super simple. And this all happens within the HIO framework. So typically, before COVID, when we just had the event app, you would be forced to download an event app for an event. You'd meet maybe 6 or 10 people. And after the event, you'd have to delete you'd have to just delete the app. It had no functional purpose in your life. And Hio is completely different in that we let you keep the mobile app and follow up with your contacts and build relationships and kind of keep the discussion going. And you can use the same event app in January at a networking event that you can in February and March and April. So you continue to use the same app at multiple events.
So, we talk about technology as the helper for an event organizer, but you're saying you can put everything into CRMs, you can do things. What do you suggest that a great event organizer does with those names? How do they extend? You're giving them the tools to connect. What advice do you give them to, forget technology? What should they be doing with those names to follow up?
We make it really easy. So everything is intuitive on the platform. Let's say I meet you at today's networking event, one of our partners' networking events. I can actually dictate how frequently I would like Hio to remind me to follow up with you. And so let's say I get a reminder 1 week from today that says, Jason, it's time to follow up with David. You met him and you want to stay in contact. I can send you a pre-scripted follow-up email. So 2 taps and you have an email in your inbox about the fact that I'd like to grab coffee next week. I can give you compliments, propose meetings, take notes on the relationship, remember why it was important for us to get in touch in the first place. So we, not only for the attendee, do we enable all of these tools for you to build better, deeper relationships, but our primary goal is to make the organizer look like a rock star, to your point. So most of our customers, we don't focus necessarily on trade shows and multi-day exhibition style events or conferences. Certainly we host them and people come to us because they want us to host those things. But the space where we really sit down is smaller recurring events. People that have communities of people that want to come 50 to 1,000 attendees, but their events happen monthly or quarterly, chambers of commerce, associations, alumni events. And those folks really like our offerings because we know how difficult it is. Our core customer has 70% of the time, our organizers do organizing events as a second job. It's not even their primary job. They do it as a second job. And then the 30%, they're doing it with 3 or less employees often. And so when we built our tools, we built them to allow people to organize hundreds of events per month in 10 minutes or less on the Hio platform. We then aggregate all of the data that happens at your events and serve it back to you. So we'll show you, instead of just knowing 48 people RSVP'd, we'll tell you how many people actually showed up, how many connections they made with one another, how many pieces of contact info were shared, what was the most commonly shared item. On average, each of your attendees met 4 people or 6 people, et cetera. And then we serve you all of the demographics, job titles, companies represented, locations, and that helps our organizers make better decisions about their events. And so everything's in a really nice dashboard for the organizers. But again, it's centered on the relationship and it's meant
talk about the relationship. What is your metaphor for how you organize when you network online? As someone who is like a participant, how am I supposed to be networking online? And what are my responsibilities? We have the organizer on one side, but it's more important for me as the attendee to know how to do it properly. Are you organizing tables? How do I know I want to meet Jason?
Great. Yeah, great. So we actually have 3 different event formats. So similar to this is kind of a webinar. On Hio, you can invite 19 people up to the panelist stage, on stage, and you can stream to up to 1 million people. The primary difference is, let's say on your guest list, right now in Zoom, for example, you don't know anything about the people that are on the guest list. With Hio, to kind of your point and your question of what is the responsibility maybe of the attendee, we allow you to add in things like your interests, how you can be helpful to other people, what you're looking for out of the event. Of course, your socials, but things like education and interests and your company that you're working at. Now, when I hover over anybody on a Hio guest list, I'm going to see all of their bio information. And so it's going to make me want to follow up with that person, send them a message. Hey, I see we both went to the same college, or it's great. I used to live in San Diego. We should connect sometime. And so we're providing more context for the relationships up front that would allow you to kind of spur the conversation along, message someone, friend them. So we always recommend filling out a complete bio on Hio and then making sure that you're jumping into those tables that you mentioned.
It's so funny. We all go back to the primary thing about events and event organizing is how do you get the girls to dance with the boys at the junior high school dance, right? And when you go to an event, people are a little shy. Mm-hmm. So what is the information that from your data that says that connects people? Is it geography? Is it interest? Is it school? Is it I like hockey and you like hockey? What have you found from your data? Or is there anything conclusive?
Well, great question. Actually, I love this question. We have an algorithm that is 14 points. It's taking into account 14 data points. The strongest, I'll say the most highly correlated item that we use, that we give the most weight to, is your intentions. So just because we went to school together, the same school, different years perhaps, or we work in the same city, those aren't really the drivers, but your intentions. Here's what I'm looking to get out of this event. You may say you're looking for introductions and partnerships and business development opportunities. And I may say that those are things that I can help with. So about 30% of our algorithm is powered when we recommend people by your intentions. And then it is all of that extra stuff, your interests, where you're located, your education, maybe friends of friends, things like that. So we do serve you up who you would actually hit it off with most of the time. And you can friend those people as well. But the other really cool thing we do from engagement, getting folks to dance with each other, is we have VIP tables at HIO in our virtual lounge, what we call the HIO lounge. So you can actually, as the host of the event, you can dictate so many things on HIO. It's completely customizable. Let's say you want tables of 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, and you can also dictate the length of the conversations when people go one-on-one. So I only want these conversations to last 5 minutes or 7, 15 minutes or uncap it. And so we give you the ability to dictate how big these tables are. You go into HIO, you're like, oh, here's a seat at a full table. Now, unlike any other virtual lounges you've ever been to, when I hover over a little avatar of a person who's already sitting at a table, again, I see so much more information about them. It's kind of like garbage in, garbage out. If I'm only asking you for your name and email and an image, I'm not really telling you that this is a table you want to sit at. So from that perspective, you're able to feel more comfortable as an attendee jumping into a table because these people seem like people that you would be interested in. They maybe live near you or have interests that are the same as yours. So certainly we're making it easier for people to jump into the conversation.
You can research who they are at the table easily.
Oh, just hover. Just
hover and you get it. Because these new sites, there's all these new audio websites where you jump into conversations now, as opposed to just meeting people online. It's actually all audio. Oh, wow. So it's kind of like, that's what's happening. People want to connect on a different level, I think now.
Sure.
Are you finding that now? Because we're home, we're doing this. How do you make this, much more of an intimate relationship in terms of getting to know somebody?
Well, that's why. So right next to the VIP lounge on HIO, we have one-on-one conversations. Let's say that you and I are at a 6-top table and you said something that I could relate to, but it's kind of busy at this 6-top table and everyone's trying to get their point across. Well, when I leave the table, I can go over to the one-on-one lounge and invite you to a one-on-one conversation, right? And so that's almost like we're sitting at a real event at a high boy. And I say, David, you said something that was really interesting. You want to chat real quick over here? Right. And then you can have that intimate conversation. One other really great thing when I talked about the following the journey of the attendee and making sure that things are intuitive with them. If you're at a table, let's say a 6-top table, and you just sit down for an hour, 50 people rotate through. Well, when they all leave, normally on every other system that's out there, you're just back to where you started. HIO says, hey, David, here's the 50 people that you connected with their name and bio and information. And you can just toggle on who you'd like to friend and send them a friend request. And within just literally 10 seconds, you can send requests out, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, if you want, documents. You're sending your information customized for each person based on your comfort level, your relationship with them. So we just really take that attendee experience to the next level with a heavy emphasis on those relationships I mentioned.
So go into the virtual event side, which you're very heavily involved with. What is a winning formula for conducting a meeting or event now? Is it content networking? Is it network content? Is it panels? Is it inspirational speakers? Is it like we're sitting in front of the same thing every single day now, right?
Right.
And we want to prevent people from having to clean their desk if they have a desk. We want people to pay attention to you because we're having a conversation that they're interested in and they're not falling asleep.
Yeah.
How should the format work today based on all your experience?
Based on what I have seen, I think the number one thing is everyone, if you're hosting an event, you know what content works for your people. You sold the tickets, you organized the event. So it's not so much content, it's building in breaks. When people know that they're going to have a break in 15 minutes, that you're not going to sit them in front of a computer for 3 straight hours, people need to drink. They need to use the restroom. They want to have a conversation.
What would be how much time should content be before you have a break, and how long should breaks be, and how many breaks should you have? Like, let's get real practical so an event organizer can steal what we're saying and do it tomorrow on.
Yeah. I would suggest, and again, I don't want to act as if I'm an event organizer, but I
have experience.
Partners.
You have experience in data.
We have found that if you just take a 60-minute segment, let's say you're having an entire day-long event, we would suggest that things are broken up 45 minutes to 15-minute break. 45 minutes content, 15-minute break. I've seen people very successfully do things in 20 or 30-minute increments, and they prep their speakers. Hey, if you were going to do something in 45 minutes, I only want the cream of the crop. Give us your best stuff in 15 to 20 minutes, and then we're going to take another break. What HIO allows you to do is, let's say it's that host moderated or format that I talked about with the panelists. You can have 30 minutes of panelists and Q&A and breakout sessions, and then take a break. Everyone head over to the lounge, network for 30 minutes, come back. We're going to start our next session. So giving people the option, certainly, to take breaks. And there has to be some built-in downtime. I think because it's virtual, we want to keep people there for as long as possible. But the beautiful thing is, I've also seen pre-recorded content be very powerful. Let's lean into the strengths that virtual has. Like, what's great about being virtual? Well, the first is you're at home and you're on your own time. So maybe not all of the content has to be live. Maybe I don't have to choose between these 3 great speakers. Some of it I can actually view pre-recorded. I could view at 10 p.m. Rather than when everything's live at 1 p.m.
But is the speaker, I've done a lot of pre-recorded, and I put it out. It's not nearly as much fun for the speaker, because you don't get to feel like it's a whole different thing. So true. But is that a preferred method, the way people like to view it, because it's less it's kind of less like technical? I mean, it's sort of like, that it's going to be good if it's going to be video.
That's the thing. So there's a trade-off. I've met organizers who say, I believe more in the power of just doing it live, and that randomness, and the fact that people like to watch live TV. They like to watch live events. So there is that aspect, but you do get more of a polished experience when you do pre-record. People have time to rehearse things. Right. They're doing it in the most optimal conditions, and they can make cuts and things of that nature. So there's no hard and fast rule. I think more than anything, it's what are you trying to accomplish? What is your brand? Who's listening? And how do those people like to consume the content that you're offering?
Somebody was asking, I noticed, about the algorithm. You say you have the networking algorithm does it change by the type of event that you do?
It does not, but that's a great idea. I'm going to write down.
Well, that's the purpose of this.
No, that would actually be very interesting. I could see how that would be powerful, that potentially you can kind of move the pulleys and leverage a little bit just to maximize, hey, at this specific event, I really want it to be weighted more so at this angle. That's a great point.
Yeah, I think different groups have different needs.
Absolutely.
Men probably need more prodding, and women will network more easily. Not to make a generalization, but that's the one that I've noticed. Do you think so? So in the networking break, do you propose different techniques, or is it always the same thing? I mean, how do you? Yeah, you flip it up a little bit.
Well, at HIO we have. When it comes, everything is centered around the attendee and the relationship of the networking. But we have two event formats that are more aligned with networking and video types of networking. So you can always go into our lounge, one-on-one connect, sit down at a table. We also have a speed networking option that people are just coming to us for out of the box. They say, I'm hosting my event over here, but I really want this speed networking capability that you have. And so those are tables of 4 rotating every 5 minutes to optimize the number of connections that you could make with a person. And then the beautiful thing is, after you get up from that event, it'll say, hey, Jason, here's all of the people that you met. Who do you want to friend? and you can make new connections. You can always access the guest list if you missed a connection and go back. So those are the two different kind of networking video live pieces that Hio has in conjunction with the host moderated.
Can you go a little bit into, hybrid is going to be the next big thing, right? To connect the live and the virtual. I've been doing some of these events where I'm the speaker and I'm in a remote location, mm-hmm. but sometimes the technology doesn't work on the live side. So there's a lot of rustiness that's happening because people haven't been doing their jobs for a long time on the live side. Is there a bridge that's going to make it so that it's going to work better? Or is this a problem that you see that we're going to have to sort of fix in terms of the integration? Or is it something that everything is going to work so well that we don't have to worry about it?
I don't think everything's going to work so well. There are some best in class. Even before COVID hit, a partner of ours called ViewStub was doing some great work in allowing both an in-person ticket as well as a virtual access ticket. We believe 100% in a hybrid world moving forward. There will be people who just decide, I'm not ready in Q1 of 2021 to go to this event. But there may be others that do. So we believe in certainly live streamed content, Q&A. We believe that people are going to be asking questions. It's already happening. It's been happening actually for a couple of years. But I think that you're just going to see more of a divide. Those who do attend in person are not going to be handing out business cards. Enter Hio again, right? So, hey, I can easily swap contact info, socials, documents. So for that perspective, you can even use Hio. Let's just say you're attending an event that's not hosted on Hio. You can use Hio to swap information with people that you're meeting in person and send them your V card very easily using Hio, even if the event is not on Hio and if they don't even have Hio. You can choose to organize your contacts and your relationships through Hio in that way as well. But ViewStub does a great job. There's plenty others that are allowing this kind of hybrid world. We do have, of course, we were in-person events before we were virtual. So if a company came to us and they wanted to do it virtually and in person, the hybrid, we already power that experience wholeheartedly. So we're on desktop, tablet, iOS, and Android app as well.
You integrate with registration systems usually?
We do. So since we don't do the ticketing and registration, we allow you to bring wherever you're currently selling tickets. If you're selling them on Cvent or Eventbrite is huge. We have a native integration with Eventbrite with a webhook. So let's say I'm hosting 150 annual events. In just 2 clicks, you can bring all of those events from Eventbrite directly into Hio, add sponsors, speakers, exhibitors, panelists, and then you're off to the races. You can publish that event. We also automate, as I mentioned earlier, all of the tools that we built were meant to allow organizers to host hundreds of events in 10 minutes a month on Hio. So we do have forward and backward integrations. You can pull in all your events, publish them. And then the great thing is, let's just say it's a physical event. When someone buys a ticket on Eventbrite to your event, David, they're going to get an email from you through Hio, automated email series for you to adopt the mobile app, to download the app. It's an email that goes out at the introductory. So in terms of you just purchased a ticket, 15 days prior, 10 days, 5 days, 3 days. And if you download the app or get on to the software after, let's say, the second email, you won't receive any further. So we automate all of that for you and give you the statistics in terms of how many emails were sent, how many open, how many were clicked. It's pretty comprehensive.
So, we serve, it's so funny how most event organizers are hidden planners in many cases because it's not their main job. Yep. And also everybody's an event organizer too. Yep. You said 10 minutes. Is it easy to do? Like, give us the steps of how you would onboard somebody that is given the assignment, oh my God, we're going to do this event tomorrow. And I don't do events, but how do we do it?
Sure. So let's just talk about 2 tracks. The first is, I'm not going to import it from Eventbrite. I'm going to do everything manually. Creating an event manually in Hio takes about 2 minutes. Image for the event, title, date, where is it? Is it virtual? What type of event is it? Social media hashtags, and then a passcode. You can create an event with those types of fields. If you want to add speakers and sponsors and exhibitors, then it's a little bit more time, maybe 15, 20 minutes, if you have the logos and the name and the websites, things like that. If you're pulling them in from a partner, such as Tito over in Ireland, Tito does great work, great, beautiful user interface, or Eventbrite, then it's a few clicks. It is import, yes, this event, do I want to publish it? Yes. And again, speaking to the reusability and how we're making things easier, let's say that you're hosting an event every month, a great networking event, and you have 20 national sponsors. You input them in January, you're never inputting those sponsors again. You literally go import sponsor from previous, and then you can select where they are. You can rank them. Oh, what is Google doing at the top? You know, they're actually our silver sponsor. Drag and drop is exactly how they're going to show up on our software.
Is the social media juice on this thing pretty good? You can actually do all your social media without publishing a website then.
Oh yeah. Oh, so right on our social tab on the mobile app or inline, we pull in the last 7 days of a Twitter feed. So again, with the reusability, we have what we call event defaults. Do you want the same passcode? Do you want the same social hashtag? Do you want the same tags for discoverability on the platform? If you put them once, all hundreds of your events, when you import them, will already have all of that information ready to go. But speaking specifically to social, we pull in the last 7 days of a Twitter feed. And since you have that hashtag, when a user wants to engage with you, they click the social tab and then they can link out to post on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn in one tap with that hashtag already preloaded.
So you don't need to be a social media maven in order to accomplish the goals of getting to your
two taps and you're good.
But that's all of a sudden it's overwhelming sometimes if you're not doing Instagram every day and you don't know the latest this and the latest that.
Yeah, and you as an organizer, right? You don't want to spend time at the event doing those types of things. So you want to enable user generated content. Attendee generated content. Hey, snap a picture on Instagram. You don't have to have a big poster that says, here's our hashtag. It's right within the app.
Yep. You talk about security a little. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Mm-hmm. What differentiates you from a security point of view? Everyone is now thinks that security is critical.
Right. Well, you know what's interesting is the event industry competitors that we have. We always took the stance that it's not our data. It is not. And in fact, it's not the host's data either. We have the attendee, they own their own data on HIO and they can delete their account at any time. So if someone ever wanted to take their data with them, they delete it. They can just delete their account. That is off of our servers, and any information that we have of them is totally, completely gone from HIO within that day. And you contrast that with what we see I would urge any event organizer who is looking at any solution. Data is so important. And you want to go on the offensive and say that you've done your diligence. You're going with a company that doesn't sell or repurpose or repackage or do anything with the user's data. No one could ever. We get emails all the time. Can we buy the guest list for this event? Sorry, you cannot. But more importantly, some of the competitors out there, in their terms and conditions and privacy policy, they say that if an attendee attends one event one time, they can sell, repackage, repurpose the data for up to 20 years. If your attendees knew that, they would never attend that event and they would never opt in for that.
Now the hundreds of people on this webinar understand that, so they're never going to.
So always look in the terms and conditions, because what you're doing is you're the keeper of, you're introducing these attendees, thousands potentially, to a system where they're going to get hit up constantly because their data is out in play. And we always say it's not our data, it's the attendees' data.
What has surprised you most? This has been like a gold rush in a sense, the whole virtual world. We had to pivot within 30 days, and people spend all this time not knowing how to get on Zoom and all these little problems. Now, what have you learned the most from this experience?
Oh boy, what a great question. I said earlier that the spirit, I went to Babson College, which is an entrepreneurship school. So I always love when I see people rushing toward what was and is terrible with the amount of deaths that we've had here in the United States, but around the world. It also had an opportunity for people to solve a real problem. People need to get together. They need to go to events. And just to see the way in which people are attacking the problem. Some people are focused on, as I mentioned earlier, the 3D renderings of venues. If you had a venue and that was your primary source of income in, let's say, New York City, I know several people, that's really tough. They're not having it. They had the lockdown for several months. And so they're having to to pivot as well and do virtual, but trying to actually have their venue highlighted in that way. So I've been most surprised with the American spirit, how people have just come to the need of event organizers. When the pandemic first hit, we put out a message. We stopped charging for everything on the platform for 3 months to support our organizers, who it was their livelihoods. They had events scheduled, they canceled them, they had to refund tickets. And we said, anything that happens on the platform for the next 3 months is completely free. You can just do anything you want. And just to try to get people through, and in our small way. It's not like we changed the world by doing so, but we thought it was a help. So I've just been most surprised at people's ability to pivot, to innovate, to rapidly come to the call of all of these event organizers, because you see so many events going on. I just wish that there was a little more innovation and a little more thought for the actual attendee, and not just the video capabilities. So
go into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
We talked about a little earlier that it's the guest responsibility, and it's also, we need to give more tools. What tools do you have on your schedule and your plan to keep being innovative?
I appreciate that. What we're doing right now is called video conferencing. This was meant for a boardroom. Now people are hosting events on Zoom. This is, I can see you and I can hear you, but this isn't, as soon as this ends, we're done. There's nothing else here. They've added some Q&A and whatnot, but this isn't a virtual event as far as we're concerned. So HIO, we had an opportunity a couple of months ago to potentially add ticketing and become more of a full service, vertically integrated company. And we really just said that we don't want to be that. We want to focus on the relationships. And so scale for us doesn't mean doing everything in the event industry. It means doing what we do better than anybody else. And so what we're trying to do now is attach ourselves from an innovation standpoint and a scalability is we're attaching ourselves with registration companies. So if you look at the workflow of a ticketing company, you go there, you're setting up your event. Now it's going to say, host it on HIO. Do you want to host it on HIO? And so we're trying to scale, instead of us having hundreds or thousands of customers, having tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of event organizers, wherever they're selling tickets all around the world, be able to opt into hosting their event on HIO. Also looking at building out our APIs and SDKs. Let's say you are a competitor of HIO today. You may not be tomorrow, because HIO instead would live within any framework that you have. So if you're Cvent, for example, we'd love to have Cvent or Double Dutch or Bizzabo say, when we're giving people directions, we're not going to build our own navigation system. We're going to use the Google API. Or if we're going to do accommodations and purchasing of hotel rooms, we're not going to build an accommodation site. We're going to use a Stay 22 API. So HIO is in the process of rolling out on our side a product that would be able to sit within any event app for any organizer all around the world and have HIO power all of the relationships. And so that's really where we see our value proposition. It'll be our own for our own organizers, but we also want this to power any event, regardless of the organizer or the company.
Or the platform that they're using.
Platform, exactly.
So you're basically doubling down on the networking as your sort of unique selling proposition, it sounds like.
Yeah, because no one wants to live in a world where you're asked, if you're in sales and you go to, let's say, pharmaceutical sales, you go to maybe 15 conferences a year, tons of different networking events sprinkled in there. Well, you're asked to download an event app each and every time. So you download it, you create your profile, you meet a few people, and then literally the next day you delete that app and you try to export those contacts to a CSV file. We don't want that to be the reality. We want all of the events that you go to, all the relationships you have, to be funneling down into your HIO profile, where you can manage those relationships and build the better, deeper, stronger relationships.
We are starting to get questions, and I would like to sort of go into the audience and have Andre has a question. He says, do you see HIO evolving the platform to accommodate AR and VR as a means of breaking out of the boardroom look and feel? What is the future of AR and VR in this world?
Sure. I think that HIO will partner with AR and VR companies to provide the connectivity, the easeability of swapping information, carrying on the relationships. I don't see us getting into hardware or even building out software which would allow us to do those things. I'm a huge proponent of putting aces in their places, doing the thing that you do best in the world. But I do think that there's a massive future in it, and the level of engagement that those companies see that are able to, even just now, the VR, being in a room, having avatars, walking across the room, sitting down on a couch. Those are really innovative things that I think people really enjoy and have fun doing.
Do you think though, I have this, I got all the goggles, I buy everything first time. The first thing that comes out, of course, I haven't touched them in like 6 months or a year. Do you think that the whole idea of goggles and things like that at an event takes you out of the room when it goes live? Or is it something that is okay in the virtual space? I mean, it seems a little odd to walk around a live event. It's all virtual. It's all
certainly walking.
Yeah.
Certainly walking. I mean, there could be something that is handheld that kind of moves you around the room. That is sort of your segue, if you will, that moves you into conversations. But yeah, the ability to see someone in the virtual space and hear them, I think it would be great if we could also get to a level where you kind of get some sensors. You can sense the human contact is so, let me just back up. Human contact is, we pick up so much on the body language, the facial expressions. They can give us way more words than and a better impression of what these people are feeling sentiment wise. So I would really like to see some type of, instead of just an avatar in that kind of realm, I'd really like to see the facial expressions. And similar to if you have your iPhone and you can throw different, and I have 3 kids, so on different platforms you can throw a pig or a horse or something over your face, and if you raise your eyebrows, the eyebrows raise. That's where I'd like to get to if you are using even avatars for virtual networking within the VR space. Facial expressions, I think, are so key to having a conversation with someone.
Do you think the next generation of attendees who are gamers and things like that will feel that we are so behind the times because the gaming technology is so sophisticated now?
I do. I mean, I think they're building virtual worlds. So, in the future, you could legitimately have an entire event space that exists only in the digital realm, and people can walk around and peruse and have conversations, and you set up multiple cameras that kind of get different angles from you. And I think there's already people looking at this who can do a much better job than we are in this space. I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm waiting to see. I judge different business plan competitions and mentor startups, and I'm so encouraged at the level of ideas, and not just having the idea, but these young people are pursuing their ideas. They're super smart. They grew up with a cell phone in their hand. They're tech savvy, and they want to come out and solve problems. So for those young entrepreneurs, I just think that this situation that event organizers find themselves in provides a great opportunity for young people to start a business.
What's the coolest thing you've seen?
If from an event standpoint?
Any standpoint from Babson, you're viewing entrepreneurs, so it's inspiration can come from anywhere.
Yeah, I couldn't pinpoint any one. I guess I teach at Villanova, which is here in Philadelphia, a couple times a year in their entrepreneurship and engineering class. There's several people working on devices that help you do things faster, things from the house. There's some people even getting, I wouldn't say into the event space, but the connectivity piece. The students themselves just are bright and brilliant. I'm not coming up with one specific idea.
That's okay.
Even 2 weeks ago, I was just floored. I remember remarking, I'm just like, if everyone in this classroom followed through with these ideas, the world's going to be a better place.
Yep. I read about in your bio that you love fast things. You love flying and biking and all that. How does that sort of enter into your development thinking? Are you like a fast, rapid developer? How do you think that should work in terms of for other entrepreneurs?
That's a great question. So there's a few elements of, let's say, like when I became a private pilot, you have to have a goal in mind and a pathway to get there. Pilots, to become a pilot, it's a journey. You have to fly, of course, the airplane and train, but you have to do a lot of studying as well, understanding the weather patterns, maps. An aviation map is quite different than just a road map. But you set a goal, you try to achieve that goal over time. The decision making that pilots have as well. So, right, like the aircraft, you have to be in complete control of the aircraft at all times. all of my pilot training, and I've done advanced aerobatics as well, loops, flips, spins. We have to wear a parachute on your body as well when you're jumping out. I think that that has prepared me to be the CEO of this company in ways that I never imagined, because you can't just pull over on the side of the road in an airplane. You have to have an equally good backup plan. You have to understand every aspect of the business and how they're intertwined. And if there is engine problems, right, going through a checklist methodically to figure out what the problem is, because you can't cause an undue harm to anyone on the ground as well. But I don't know, moving fast and riding motorcycles and things like that. We do rapid prototyping all the time, customer discovery. If anyone ever tells me they love HIO, they love the feature set, I always say, we're not geniuses. We just listen really well to our customers.
People you have to listen to? Like, is there a number? Like, people are like, when you read about Google things, they have, 5 people can give you an answer. How do you know that what's correct in terms of?
You don't know what's correct. We'll reach out. No one in our company has the title sales. These are all partnerships. When an organizer comes to us, that is a partnership, because we tell them, in 2 weeks, I may come to you and say, we think you have this problem. Do you have this problem? And here's how we were going to solve it. Is that how you'd like it solved? And when someone gives us an idea, that we say, okay, this is interesting. Let's go validate this. So we talk to other organizers and we say, we've heard this problem. Do you have that problem? And some people want us to be able to share Venmo, or they want us to be able to share other pieces of contact information, TikTok and this. And we have, some of it is we have to just wait and see. Okay, I don't know if the use case really validates us developing it, but certainly we are always in a state of development. We put out new releases every 2 weeks, sometimes every week. The great thing is we may get an idea from an organizer on the 1st of the month. By the 15th of the month, I have already designed it, sent it to the developers. It's out and it's being tested. And I'm sending it back to them saying, you let me know if this is what you envision. So there is a partnership that happens with us and our organizers. And because we're a small company, we can move like a speedboat on a great idea.
Are you the creative director?
Yeah, I mean, project manager, product manager. I do all of our design work as well. So if you're on the mobile app, every pixel of that was designed by me. So yeah, we're very small team, less than 15 people, and yeah, most everything flows through me.
And you're device agnostic, because we have a question about there. It sounds like you're
100%. I say flow through me, but flows through me. Most things come through me in terms of the customer and the design, but we have a phenomenal team, hardworking team on the dev side and sales and marketing as well. Yes, we are device agnostic. iOS app, Android app, web, mobile, desktop, tablet, everything.
So how do people find you?
So you can go to HIO Social, HIO social.com, and check us out. We do group tours every week. So right on the website, something will pop up and says, hey, do you want to do a group tour? You can also schedule a one-on-one demo if you'd like, or you can self-serve and start checking it out. And that will basically create an account for you. Name, phone number, email address. You can create an account, start playing around with HIO. There's also on YouTube, you can just search HIO Social and check out some of our tutorials. But yeah, we'd love to give anyone a demo of the software. We've got the simplest pricing in the industry as well. That's kind of by design. We realized when we were getting into virtual, let's look at what the pricing is in the market. And it was so confusing for us to even understand what it would cost our average organizer if they were to go with 10 different platforms. So we just called it $1 per attendee per event. It's the simplest pricing, easy. And if you're hosting 200 people, $200. And yeah, so that's there too. There's no secret. You don't have to talk to anyone to get to the pricing. It's not like you're going to get different pricing than anyone else, or you're always going to get the best deal.
So how is, I always have the problem with big companies of customer service. How do you hold the hand of the organizer?
How do we hold the hand?
Yeah. How do you, like, when somebody's like, oh my God, I need your help. Is it all self-serve pretty much at this point because it's so simple? Or do you get on the phone with people?
We have tried to move to self-service for some customers who know what they want and what they're trying to get. Other customers really come to us and they say, I have this big problem. I just pulled the plug on my tech company. That happened the other day where an event consultant came to us and said, my client just fired their tech company and their event company, and they need you. And we hear about, we don't try to prescribe anything until we diagnose what the problem is, right? So we just say, hey, what are your goals? What are you trying to get out of this? How many people? What's important to you? And then we'll let you know what format might be better. We have probably the most amazing team from a partnership, VP of partnership, Andrea, who I believe is on this call here. She hosts the group demos. You will never find a person that will set you up better than Andrea. Be responsive, calls, texts, everything. So she is really the heart of the operation when it comes to getting folks set up and running on the platform. And she'd be happy to help anyone who's listening right now.
I have a question: can someone as an individual just buy this thing pretty easily?
Mm-hmm. Anyone can go to Hio Social, organize their login, create their account, and start hosting events. Wherever you're selling tickets, you just plug in that ticket URL and the details of your event, and you can start. If you're selling tickets on Eventbrite, phenomenal. They just come right in. And once they buy a ticket, you don't have to do any work of compiling an email and letting people know what software you're going to use. You just literally click autopilot, and we handle the communication.
Yeah, is there a sandbox approach to it? Do you want to just play?
You can. So we have demo.hiosocial.com as well, where you can plug in any phone number and any 4 digits and get in and play around, and you won't break anything.
Yeah, because that's what I like to do that. It's organized because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Me too. I just want to, is there anything I can do to break this thing? No. Okay. Let me click and do everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So what how old are your kids?
I've got a 5-year-old boy, a 3-year-old girl, and a 1-year-old girl.
Okay, when the 5 years old is 10 years old, how do you envision your company?
What a great question. Our vision is really to power all of the connections in the world.
You talked about that.
It's audacious, but anywhere 2 people are coming together from different walks of life, we want to be that exchange, the way in which they swap information, follow up with one another. And typically that has happened in person, not at events, just using Hio. Then it's happened in person at events. Now it's happening virtually at events. And kind of the missing cornerstone of this, is virtually not at events. So we believe that in the future, hopefully in the next couple of years, no matter what event you are attending from any organizer and any company, Bizzabo, Double Dutch, Cvent, that Hio is the way that you're powering it. And we looked at this. We looked at what if everyone got on Hio and friended everyone else on Hio? Would that be success to us? And really, that's not success. Success is in giving everyone the tools to be able to follow up and build better, deeper, stronger relationships so that you can actually achieve all of the goals. We believe that personal relationships power everything in life and in business. And we want Hio to be able to power your personal relationships at scale.
Well, that is probably the perfect way to end. And I also want to say that I was one of those people that was at the tech meetup when Uber decided to present, and everyone thought, oh, that's just a limo company. So hopefully, I believe that you've got a very bright future ahead of you. I would encourage people to go. We've had a lot of requests for demos, which I guess you can go on the tours, and we'll send everybody a copy of this, and they'll be able to re-listen to it at night, because I know that they want to do nothing but that in the evenings instead of watching the debates or things like that. So thank you all for coming, and look forward to future chats. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, David.
Thank you.